Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 50-year-old Pennsylvania resident Joseph Pastucci is one of the many January 6 defendants who's now been accused of assaulting a woman. So stay tuned toward the end for those details. But in the lead up to the Capitol attack, Pastucci made plans with his then girlfriend to travel to D.C. on January 6th. So the two discussed various chemical weapons. These were things that they wanted to take, including pepper spray, red pepper gel, bear spray. And on December 15th of 2020, Pastucci forwarded a message to his girlfriend detailing the vote certification process that was going to take place. And he said, you know, Mike Pence has which is the vice president at the time, he had the ability to upend the process, hand the presidency back to Donald Trump. So they were brainstorming ideas for signs that they could carry at the Capitol, including one that is just chef's kiss. It is the perfect representation of everyone who went there that day. It said, quote, "Stop the steal, morons." No comma, just stop the steal, morons. I do not think it means what you think it means. Ah, what a difference a comma makes, huh? So anyway, on January 5th of 2021, they talked about another bogus conspiracy theory. They were saying, oh, the airports are all going to be closed. And his girlfriend mentioned that, quote unquote, everybody was taking a gun to D.C. So on the 6th, they were seen on the Capitol grounds that were carrying one of their signs. Luckily, it was not the moron ones. They decided to go with a different slogan. And so Pastucci was seen entering the Capitol less than 2 minutes after the initial breach. So that he entered through the Senate wing doors. And Pastucci was at the front of a group that was heading down a hallway on the House side of the Capitol. And they were stopped by officers. And he had a flag with him. And so Pastucci held it across his chest, kind of in a defensive motion, before getting in the officer's face. And he was pointing and screaming at the officer. The prosecutor actually said Pastucci came within inches of jabbing the officer in the face. So after failing to persuade the officers to allow them through, Pastucci turned around, he headed back in the direction that he came, but he didn't leave the building. He traveled to the second floor of the building, and he was seen inside Nancy Pelosi's office suite, took a picture of his girlfriend in there. From there, Pastucci and his girlfriend walked to the third floor, and they made it to the doorway of the Senate gallery. They didn't walk inside the Senate gallery, but they headed back downstairs, and then they ended up inside the Senate chamber. So by the time that they got down there, somebody had already forced the door open from the inside. So they walked in. Pastucci was then seen on video. He was standing on the Senate dais. He was watching as others were rifling through paperwork that was left on and inside of the senators' desks. And Pastucci and his girlfriend were then seen taking a seat. They went to the back row of the Senate, and they were sitting there just watching everything that was going on. And as more people were rifling in, he would hug them and he was greeting them. So eventually the police came in, they started clearing everyone out, and they pushed them toward a Capitol exit. Well, Pastucci started resisting the officers. He tried to push past them. He tried to get back, inside, further inside the Capitol. He even at one point grabbed onto a piece of furniture that was situated next to an exit, and he was resisting being forced out of the building. Well, after Pastucci's girlfriend was literally carried out, like he was already pushed out of the building, they carried her out physically because she basically threw a giant adult-sized tantrum and threw herself on the ground. So they carry her out, and then he goes up and he shoves the officer. He shoved him in the chest and in the shoulder. So Pastucci and his girlfriend eventually walked away from that area, but then they headed to another entrance and they entered the building a second time. And Pastucci was seen along with a crowd of other people. They were pushing against the police. They forced their way inside of the Capitol Rotunda. And he and his girlfriend didn't stay for very long, though, because basically he caught some of the drift, some of the overspray from pepper spray that was in the air, and so his eyes were burning. So Pastucci was arrested on April 26th of 2023, and he was charged with obstructing an official proceeding, civil disorder, assaulting officers, entering a restricted building or grounds, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, 2 counts of physical violence, entering the floor of Congress, entering certain rooms in the Capitol, and parading or demonstrating in a Capitol building. And check this out. Following his arrest, Pastucci told the FBI he was pushed inside the Capitol twice. And as soon as he entered, he said, "Oh, I was trying to find a way out, but I just got lost." Yeah, got lost down that hallway getting in an officer's face, right? Got lost walking inside of Nancy Pelosi's office. He also appears to have a very bad memory because he could not remember shoving that officer at the doorway, couldn't remember entering the building a second time. I mean, I think we need to send him some ginkgo biloba or something for that bad memory. But Pastucci told them he wasn't worried about being arrested because he said, quote, "He didn't do anything wrong. We didn't break anything, didn't cause any bodily harm to anybody, didn't shoot anybody, didn't stab anybody, didn't do any of that stuff." Oh, well, I guess you're just a law-abiding citizen then, huh? Reminds me of a friend I have whose husband said, "I'm a good husband. I don't beat you or anything." Like, that's the bar? That's how you judge? Anyway, back to Pastucci. So he refused a plea deal. He opted for a stipulated bench trial, and in April of 2024, the judge found him guilty on all counts. However, for some reason, in September of 2024, Pastucci then took a plea deal. They allowed him to plead out for the assault charge, and the government dropped all the other charges. So I don't know what went on there. But anyway, Pastucci faced up to 8 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $250,000 in fines. The prosecutor, though, requested only 2.5 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. And Pastucci has a criminal history, including that alleged rape I mentioned at the beginning. So in 1996, he was convicted of burglary. In 2002, he was convicted and sentenced to 1 year in prison for speeding, for some sort of speeding offense. And then in 2009, Pastucci was charged with assault, and he was ultimately convicted of harassing, striking, shoving, or kicking a person. And then in July of 2023, while he was on pretrial release in this January 6th case, he was arrested for sexual assault, and then he has since been charged with more crimes. He has now been charged with rape by forcible compulsion, aggravated indecent assault, sexual assault, stalking, and false imprisonment. So here's what the victim claims. She says she and Pastucci, and you might remember this because I gave you guys an update on this a while back, like when it all happened. She claims that she and Pastucci were in the process of breaking up at that point, and he had become completely controlling and jealous, to the point that she says he put a tracking device, which also recorded audio, in her vehicle. So on the night in question, she had gone out drinking with friends. Pastucci allegedly called her that night more than 60 times within just a couple of hours. And I guess the police verified this with phone records. So she gets home, she returns to the house, they get in a big argument, And she says that's when Pastucci assaulted her, and he refused to allow her to leave the house. So Pastucci, of course, tells a very different story. He claims, no, I was concerned for her safety. I didn't want her to leave because she had been drinking, so that's why I took her keys. And he says the sex was consensual. So that case is still pending. When I hear more, I will definitely let you know. But U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell presided over Pastucci's January 6th case, and she sentenced him to only 26 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. I am a bit surprised that he didn't get more time. This is typically a tough judge. And given his lies and his behavior, I really thought that she would give the prosecutor the full 30 months. So anyway, 4 months shy. The good news is, even if Trump lets this guy walk, he still has those other state charges hanging over his head. And he will likely be going away for several years in that case, if everything she says is true. If he really did all the things that the victim claims, especially now that he has the felony on his record from January 6th. So, like I said, I will keep you posted, but another one of Trump's fine people. Yeah, they seem to flock to him, it's like flies to shit. All right. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe to the channel if you have not. Really helps out with the YouTube algorithm and to get more eyeballs on this stuff. If you can donate, it really helps to keep the show going. So I truly appreciate it. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.